Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a special two-part council meeting today. The first part commencing now at 3 o'clock and a second public meeting at 5 this afternoon. I'd just like to acknowledge that we have quorum, but Deputy Mayor Keaveney is at the OGRA conference this week. And it's a reminder then that we'll all have to do our part because we really rely on Deputy Mayor Keaveney to help us with the singing of O Canada, which I'm going to invite you to join us in now. Now I'd like to invite you to just hear our land acknowledgement, and I'm going to call on Councillor Urig to give it to us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis people and their descendants past, present, and future who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend these waters.
Thank you, Councillor, and now I'll just invite you to join me in a moment of silent reflection on today's business. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? I see no indication, but if it does occur to you at any time during the meeting, please bring it forward. The public participation part of our meeting today, members of the public are encouraged to provide council with their comments and questions. If a member of the public wishes to make a deputation on item 7A listed in this council agenda, they may do so either in person at the council chambers or remotely via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to make a deputation must register in advance with Legislative Services by 10 in the morning on the day of. And you can do that by contacting Deputy Clerk at meaford.ca or calling 519-538-1060, extension 1110. An email with access information will be sent to those who register for remote participation. Deputations are limited to 5 minutes. And a reminder, the public can watch this meeting live via the Municipality of Meaford's YouTube channel, www.meaford.ca/YouTube. We have no deputations this afternoon on these items. And the first item is the recommendation that Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve website design option A or B as presented in our agenda report. And I'm going to call on our communications manager, Holly Moroney, at this point. Sorry, I'll call on our clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just as there is a report with a recommendation, a mover and a seconder at this time would be appropriate to get the motion on the floor and then proceed.
Do that. Moved by Councillor Ennis and seconded by Councillor Bell. Thank you. All in favor? Oh, okay, no vote. Okay, boy, it's complicated, isn't it? We got to do it, but we don't have to vote on it. So, Holly, if you would like to introduce your guests and
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. This afternoon, I'm pleased to be joined by Tenzing Communications, our website consultant. So I'm happy to introduce Maggie Cameron. On the far right here is our project manager with Tenzing. We have JC Molina, the president and creative director with Tenzing. We have Jeremy Gruch, the director of digital with Tenzing Communications. So how this afternoon will flow from our perspective is I'll give a little bit of a background into where we're at with regards to the project, explain some of the context on the RFP process and where we are in terms of designing the website. Then I'll pass it over to Tenzing Communications, and they'll be able to answer any questions that you have on the technical side, and then walk through both of the different design options that are before you today. So before I'll do that, I just want to speak to three different items with regards to the website project. I'll touch on our mobile first approach, and then I will speak to some of the RFP requirements that we put together and Tenzing is including as part of our end deliverable for our website. And then I will touch on the Accessibility Committee's endorsement of Design B at last week's meeting. So first, I just want to highlight the mobile first design. You may remember that in some of our previous website reports, the website viewers are 60% mobile. So we've taken those analytics and moved forward with a design approach that puts mobile top of mind. So typically, at least in my past life, when you go to build a website, first you'd say, okay, how would this look on a computer, or how would it look on a laptop? But we've actually done the opposite. And first we're looking at how would this look on someone's phone, and then we're going back and making sure that this also has a great experience on your laptop and on a tablet. I won't speak to the specifics. I'll wait for Tenzing to speak to that in a little bit more detail. And he'll be able to speak to some of the rationale as to why we did things a certain way, because there are also a number of website best practices that have gone into this in what you're seeing today. So secondly, I'll touch on some of the RFP requirements. So you will recall that before Christmas on December the 15th, we were able to move forward with Tenzing, but prior to that, we had a number of different website requirements that covered the website being modern and accessible. It had to be mobile first. We, as part of this project, were completely reviewing our navigation. We wanted to make things more intuitive for our community and for visitors of the community. So we've done a lot of that work to date. We, as part of this process, are looking at a lot of our files that are on our website. We're ensuring that the backend is really clean and tidy and supports a very user-friendly search system. So I'll let Tenzing speak to that in a little bit more detail. We also set out for this website to meet AODA and WCAG 2.2, which is Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.2, and that's in line with an international body for our website. Tenzing, I'll also note, will give us over a website that is compliant with these accessibility standards, but then we have several risk mitigation plans in place to make sure that our website stays accessible for our community, such as quarterly reviews, such as training for staff to make sure that they're staying in line with the best practices, as well as different accessibility plugins and tools to make sure that the content that we're uploading, it's flagged if anything is not compliant with these standards. So all of these requirements helped us to determine what we needed as part of the overall website design and to ensure a modern, accessible, searchable website for our community. And finally, before I pass it over to Tenzing, I'll just speak to the Accessibility Committee meeting. So I had the opportunity of attending and presenting at the Accessibility Committee meeting last week. I was joined by Tenzing at that presentation virtually, and I will let Councillor Greenfield add on to this if he has anything further. But in that meeting, we overviewed our accessibility approach just to make sure that the committee really felt comfortable and also had the opportunity to ask any questions about how we were designing this website with all of the needs of our very diverse community in mind. we looked at some different plugin options, which is something that is new for this website from our current website, to allow each user to tailor their experience based on their unique needs on the website. Again, I'll let Tenzing touch on that in a little bit more detail shortly here. So through the committee's discussion and feedback, they saw both of the different design options, and they have endorsed design option B. So you'll see that included as part of the report in the appendix. So those are pages 4 and 5 as part of that appendix labeled at the bottom. I also do want to highlight that the committee requested that we explore a more advanced accessibility plugin. So right now we're at a point in the project where things are moving very swiftly. We're making a lot of decisions, and we came to the committee in a time in the project where we're currently weighing the pros and cons of different accessibility plugins. Some of them have more features. Some of them are more costly than others. But we wanted to make the committee and involve them in this decision to make sure that we weren't going overkill and just saying, just get us the very best possible accessibility plugin. But we wanted to make sure that they saw value in the different plugin options, and that also we were getting value for our money as we explore this option. So preliminarily, we were just looking at a free option, but we have taken the note as staff back from that committee meeting to explore a more advanced accessibility plugin for our website. So with that, I will now pass it over to Tenzing Communications to answer any sort of technical questions that you may have, as well as walk through both of the different designs.
Can you swing your microphone? Thanks.
So that you can hear me. Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for having us here today to show you what we've done so far. What you will see is a result of months of planning with the Communications Committee under your guidance, obviously. And we've taken into account all the feedback and the pain points and the needs that were identified in the various stakeholder sessions that we conducted. And we used all of that to develop a content strategy that would take all the content that you currently have, make sure that it's current, make sure it's relevant, organize it in a way that it's easier to navigate and to find, and really to define a user flow for the community that would just create the best user experience. And that basically is that the website is easy to navigate, it's easy to find things, and at the end of the day, it's just a pleasant experience to have. As Holly mentioned, with any website development project that we do approach it as a mobile first project, because more so these days, that's what people are using to navigate our websites. So what I'm going to show you first is what that looks like on mobile. Screen. There, press the button. There you go. There we go. And that is large as I can make it. So when we land on the website, the first thing you'll see is a welcome message welcoming the user to the Municipality of Meaford website. If you look at the way we rendered all the graphics and all the different design elements, we took inspiration from the logo, from the Municipality of Meaford logo, the curves and the leaves and the apple. You'll see that reflected in those bands of colors that are overlaying our main banner image, which is an aerial shot of our waterfront with Irish Mountain in the back. We also made sure that we stayed within the municipality's color palette, which is the blue, the green, the red, and sort of that neutral gold color. We did lean into the blue color a little bit more because we felt that that was reflective of our proximity to Georgian Bay and how beautiful really our waterfront is. So we thought that that would be a good tie-in. When you first land on the website, what you will see what you will be given is what we call quick links. And these are links that when we study the data of page traffic, website traffic on your website, we can tell that these are the pieces of content that most of the community is interested in, or that they come back to most often. So we will put those up so that it's one-click access for everybody. We will also have the ability to tailor those quick links. So if there are certain messages or certain alerts that we want to feature for a particular amount of time, whatever season, we can pick those as well. Those links will be categorized via the 5 categories that we've determined for the content on the website, which includes services, community and recreation, planning and development, business and economy, and government. Holly mentioned that we are presenting 2 versions of this creative for you today. One of the variations in those creative is how we render the icons that are attached to each quick link. So in this version, which is version A, the icons are white in a dark blue circle. The other variation for this in version B would be just the icon in blue sitting on the page. And what we want to consider here is which version is easier to take in, easier to digest. At the very top, at the top right corner there is where we access our main navigation. We call that a hamburger menu. And here you can see the 5 categories, 5 sections of our content that we've determined throughout our planning process. Each one is expandable, and in some cases there are tier 3 pages that can be expanded as well. You'll also notice this piece of content here, well, we're calling that a highlight area, and that's where we can sorry, that's where we can show things that we want to highlight for that particular category. So for services, it may be what roads just happen to be closed for whatever reason. So anything we want to highlight, we will put it there. Again, it's to give the community an easier way of accessing information that is relevant and important. So every section will have one of those. The other thing I want to point out on the design is these 2 tools right here. The one at the bottom is a share tool, and basically that's what we will engage if we want to share content from the website. So whatever page you're on, if you feel like sharing that with somebody who you think will find this interesting, you click that. It'll give you options of sharing it via email or any of their social media channels. More importantly, this one at the top is where your accessibility tool will reside. Now, I'll preface this by saying everything that we've designed, we've made sure that it's vetted and that it complies with AODA standards and that it's accessible. What the accessibility tool does is it gives users an extra layer of control over what they're seeing. So even though our font size is compliant with AODA standards, they might find it a little too small still. So there's an option there to increase the font size. There's an option there to adjust the contrast of the colors so that it's easy. It's mostly for people who have visual impairment. They can tailor the experience to however makes them comfortable. The next section, as we scroll down, will be our news and notices. And this is where we will feature most recent pieces of posts that we have. And we will also give everyone the opportunity to view all of the news and notices. These features can be done chronologically, so it could be automatic and it just populates the most recent 3 posts. Or if there's something really important that we want to make sure stays up there for a couple of weeks or a month and doesn't get pushed down into the list, we can pin it as well up there. The next section to follow that will be the 4 most upcoming like events, I guess, in our community calendar that will be featured and highlighted in that section. And again, an opportunity to see the full calendar should the user want. In terms of variation, so what you're seeing here, where news and notices comes first and the calendar is second, is version A. In version B, we put the community calendar first and news and notices second. Seems like a small variation, but it becomes very important if we try to consider what the community is more interested in first. Do they want to see news and notices first, or are they more interested in the calendar and that's what they want to see first? Again, it's just making it easier for them to access what it is that they're interested in. So again, version A is news first, calendar second. Version B is calendar first, news second. And you will see how this becomes relevant when I show you the desktop version, because how these appear on desktop is also determined by which one we decide to put up there first. Okay. And then as we scroll further down, the next section we have, this is our Instagram feed. So we wanted to add some sort of personality, community life, that sort of thing to the website. So what this section will do is it will take from the Municipality of Meaford Instagram account, again, automatically, and it will populate this carousel just to add life, community involvement, that sort of thing. And of course, we have a button there to invite them to follow us on Instagram. That's standard for both version A and version B, so that will not change. And then finally, we get to our footer. The footer is something that's standard throughout the whole website. It will be on every page. It will be sort of the period of every sentence, if you will. And it will have just our factual information, addresses. We'll have an opportunity to invite people to connect with us through all our various social media channels. And we'll have links to our other institutions like Meaford Hall, the museum, the public library, and also all of the policies that we have to put on websites, like privacy policy, accessibility, and a link to the contact page. Now, what you're seeing is version A, which is a straight line sort of marking the beginning of the footer and this little blue accent at the bottom left corner. For version B, we've added this apple silhouette to break up that line. And we've changed the bottom left-hand corner to red. And somebody from the accessibility committee just said it makes them happy. And if it does anything other than that, I think we've done our job. So version A, again, is straight line with a blue accent on the corner. And version B, we've added the apple silhouette, synonymous with Meaford, and the bottom left corner is red. So that is our mobile design. I'll move on to the desktop. So what does that look like on desktop? I'm glad you asked. So on desktop, the first difference you'll see, because we're on desktop, you'll see that our menu has now been expanded. So you can see all of the sections that we have identified through our planning that would work as categories for all the content that we have. On desktop, we're also able to add a little bit more movement to everything that is just not possible on mobile. And you can see sort of the rounded corners again that we took inspiration of from the logo. Our menu drops down automatically. Tier 3 menu. And it closes. This is the highlight section that I showed you on mobile. And these sort of subtle changes to the state of these graphic elements is again another accessibility feature, so that the user knows they are on that particular piece of content or button. Our quick links, again, are the same. We've got all the categories that we can navigate to. You'll see now that the icons can animate just a little bit. Again, just we want to make it fun for our community to engage in. That is option A. To see option B, it would be that. Just a slight little scale, not only to add levity to it, but again, to show the user that they're hovering over that button or that piece of interactive content. The second section, this is where I said the order of news and the community calendar, it becomes relevant. So if community calendar, well, I'll go back to this one. So version A, where notices, news and notices came first and the calendar came second. On a desktop, it will be on the left side, news and notices, right side, community calendar, because we read left to right. And the flip side of that, community calendar, news and notices on the right. And again, we've added these sort of subtle state changes to communicate to users that they are hovering over that, and that's what they'll be clicking on. Our Instagram feed is the same for both versions. And the users will be able to just drag through these as they will. And finally, oh, and then follow us on Instagram, very important. And then finally, our footer. So again, same layout, just a horizontal version of it with our Meaford apple and without our Meaford apple. So version A, again, straight line across the top. Version B with the apple silhouette and the red at the bottom. So that's all I have to show you.
Questions from council? Or Councillor Ennis?
Thank you very much through you, Mr. Mayor. I have a little bit of a lineup. So I just wanted to confirm that image is in fact Irish Mountain and not Scotch Mountain. Because if it's Irish Mountain, it's flipped. Small thing, but just wanted to point that out. Okay, so then sort of more technical things. The news and notices, I thought of this on the mobile. I think it would be more helpful. So I'm the kind of person who I explore on a desktop. If I'm on my phone, it's like task specific. And I think people who buy plane tickets from their phone are insane. Desktop, everything's set to 80% zoom and I want everything on the screen at one time. So I'm a little bit biased, but on the mobile version especially, I thought it'd be really helpful, and I think this would map to the desktop version, to have the news filterable by the quick link categories, because somebody might be particularly interested in any stories related to those things. Additionally, I thought a header, not a header, but like some type of indicator near the top of the screen that lets you know that there's the news and notices, the community events, and the quick links, so that if you open the thing on your phone for the first time, you know what those three sections are without having to kind of scroll all the way. I think the apple is an excellent addition to the bottom in B. So I'm on side with the accessibility committee's thoughts there. And then I noticed this on the desktop and was just unsure of with the Instagram feed carousel. I think in all of the screens, it looks like there's like a carousel progress bar at the bottom. Is that a progress bar or is it just a divider?
It's just an indicator. Yeah, it will be a progress bar. It's again to indicate that there's more content coming.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. That makes sense. And those are all my immediate thoughts. Thanks.
Go ahead, Holly.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Ennis, to speak to some of your comments regarding the news filter and the header. So those are things that we have actually implemented on the news specific pages and is a best practice that we've introduced across all of our information-based pages, just not here on the homepage. This is really a jumping off point. But once you get to the news and notices page, you'll be able to filter by news, by notices, by category, by dates. There'll be lots of different options there for the visitor to tailor that experience and get to the information that they're interested in. Also on the header, we do have a quick links section at the top of pages, very much in line with what we do today across a number of pages. Like the waste page, I was on it this morning. As an example, you're able to see a few different links to see what you're getting into on the page before you do.
Councillor Yorick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. and Thank you for the presentation. Yeah, it looks, all looks really good. I mean, not hard to take a big step up from where we are, so, yeah. Just a couple of quick questions. One being, I will agree that I think I like with, without the icon being without the circle behind it. I think it's better, visually. My question is more about content. So, and again, I know this is early stages. When you look at what your quick links are, pay a bill, garbage, recycling, property taxes, etc., I would dare say, yes, those are prevalent right now, predominantly because that's all our site's good for right now, is literally municipal things. I'm much more interested in what we're going to do more from a tourism and ec dev perspective, combined into this platform. So, because I would, in a perfect world, what this becomes eventually is not just a functional place to go to get your nuts and bolts and get practical information about municipal business, but we really, what you've got with the community calendar, I'm glad that's front and center. Right now, our calendar is not used practically at all. It's buried and it's hard to find. But I'm just really concerned that we need to make sure that we are selling Meaford at the same time as we are doing municipal business. Unless we're going to set up a separate website, period, that is going to be centric on Meaford tourism and economic development. But one-stop shopping is obviously more logical rather than having to drive people to do different sites. So that's my only thing about what the content will be eventually, and how we kind of then filter preference of order, because you're right, we still want people to be able to go on and pay a bill and access and whatever, but we really also need to be driving what people want to, why we want people to come to Meaford, what our attractions are, et cetera.
The gospel according to us.
I'm happy to take that question through
Sure.
you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Yorick. Those are all excellent points, and we've had very deep discussion about all of them. A lot of the decisions that we're making are not just, yep, do it. They're in-depth, 20-minute, hour, 2-hour, many day, come back, sleep on it, rethink it type process and decisions that we're making. So I'll speak to it in a couple different parts. First, I'll touch on the quick menu that you'll see at the top there. So Tenzing and JC did note that we do have the ability to change that, as well as the highlight area, depending on the season. So the highlight one, as an example, a great tool as we approach the election, for it to have all of our election information right there. The services and the quick links down there, that can change based on seasonality. In the winter, we can have something there for people to get all of their information on winter road maintenance, around property tax deadlines, and other deadlines. We'll have all of those up front, and we'll be able to use a number of different tools on the back end with analytics to adjust that to what our community is engaging with. And the data analytics and the way that we're setting up the site will inform a lot of our actions moving forward, where today it was quite tricky when we're looking at the 250, 350 pages on the website, really trying to balance, okay, well, are the numbers like that because people can't find it or because the information isn't useful? So that's one of the things that we went back and forth with. Regarding the tourism page and what to do with this website. So currently we do have a tourism microsite. However, it was not within the scope of this project to have a dedicated microsite. In part, that is cost. So we have this website as well as the 3 different microsites for the library, for the hall, and for the museum. But we do recognize that we need to bridge that gap and to have that information somewhere on the website. So in part, that is prompting people to follow us on Instagram and see some of the photos. We've designed this website primarily to be an information hub. That's why we've put a lot of the fluff and the frills and focusing that on other platforms with the mindset that people are coming to the municipal site for information. Going back to the gap that we're bridging, while we do not have a dedicated microsite on the website, we have sort of gone back and tried to pull apart what that existing tourism webpage looks like. And in my recommendation for that is to translate that microsite that's made up of 5 or 6 multiple different pages into a single landing page, bringing it actually more in line with best practices of having everything within a scroll, because that's what is a website best practice, rather than having people click all around and navigate their way. They can do it just by going up and down on a single page. So that is something that is within the scope of this project, to have a page. We've gone back and forth. Right now, we're calling the page Explore Meaford. And what is great about that page right now is we've had some really good discussions about when a person comes to that page and what they're actually looking to get. And a lot of the information that a resident is looking to get, there is certainly overlap, especially when we look at campaigns like a Buy Local and wanting people to become more aware of the different businesses within the community. So on this page, we're making sure that it talks to and has right on there our business directory, which is already a part of the scope of this project and exists on other pages under business and economy. And all of that will be able to be seen on a map. And one piece of this website that we've had a lot of really great discussion on and have come to a decision is that we're going to combine on a map and in a list view our business directory with the municipal facilities, just to improve that overall experience if someone is coming and looking to learn about these facilities for the first time.
Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, thanks for everybody being here today. Really appreciate it. And I think this site is shaping up really nicely. Couple observations, and I have some questions. I do really like that you've adopted a service first design. I think that is very, very smart. Now, and I also do agree with the accessibility committee. I do prefer option B, even if it's for the simple reason as it just makes me feel happier than option A. So that's great. A couple questions. So on desktop, when a user clicks, say, a quick link, does it open up a new tab or does it redirect that current page? Like, what's considered best practice here, considering things like accessibility, user experience? What would that look like when somebody's just clicking on a quick link?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the website will go onto a different page. It will not open a new tab, because that will open up the possibility of multiple tabs being opened and the user getting lost. But what we'll do is we'll always have a way back to the homepage. We'll implement what is called a breadcrumb, and it will trace your steps through the website and so that you can trace it back very easily.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you once again, thanks for your answer to that. So is this site going to be, is it a WordPress platform, or what platform are you using to design this? I just want to confirm.
Yes, it's a WordPress platform.
Thank you. And can you also confirm that this site will be hosted in Canada?
Yeah, that's correct. And that was part of the RFP that we.
Excellent. That's great. Now, with the WordPress site, obviously there's going to be
X number of plugins that are used. So my question is, I understand many plugins are annual fee subscription based. So my question is, do you know how many plugins we will be paying an annual subscription fee to continue the operations of that? Just want to know if you have an idea of what that looks like and what that annual cost might look like just for the plugins alone. Thank you.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Forder, we're currently in that phase right now. There's a lot of things just given the timeline that are happening at the same time. So there are a number of plugins, and we did, as part of the budget approval process, set a bit of a budget and outline that the costs for this website moving forward would have an increased cost compared to the existing website. I think that our ongoing website costs are estimated at about $12,000, maybe just over, with Tenzing's support on a 5-year agreement as part of our website maintenance and hosting. We aren't quite there yet in terms of determining a final cost for all of those plugins. I think one critical decision that we have yet to make, we're still doing all of the investigation and really determining value, is around the accessibility plugin. But beyond that, that's the only one that I can think of that may be above and beyond that predetermined budget that came before council previously in the estimate.
Who's next? Has anybody else want to go? Tony, and then, yeah, okay. Councillor Ballin.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. And first of all, thanks for whittling it down to 2, that we don't have to look at 12 or more. No, I really do appreciate that. You've given it some really deep considerations. Of course, both of them are alive. Whatever needs to happen can happen, and it's very much that way. It's something that as information comes in, it'll get onto the site pretty fast. So what would happen when council chooses A or B, and after a period of time, say a year, we start getting other comments that actually were starting to fit more towards the other one? How lateral can we move to incorporate, no matter which one we choose? We could take some feedback like that and incorporate it. Or when we choose this with the headings and the way it's laid out, that's it. Is that where we're at? We really need to know, like, how fluid can this be ultimately?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the design can always be altered. The beautiful thing about digital is that it's never permanent. What we have presented you, however, is what we felt, based on all the feedback that we've gotten from the stakeholder sessions, to be the most optimal way of presenting the information. Now, having said that, if in practice we do get a large amount of feedback otherwise, it would be very easy to address, and we would be more than willing to go back and reassess any part of what we've done. And like Holly mentioned, we do offer a support package, for lack of a better word, that will make sure that we don't just sort of leave you high and dry, and we're always there for you when you need us.
Councillor Ennis.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. Going back to Councillor Forder's question about new tabs, new pages, assuming you're on, like any standard browser, do you have the option to open new tabs? Okay, perfect. That's great. And then just thinking about plugins, I was curious, what happens if unexpectedly the plugin provider discontinues service? Presumably that'll then require a fair bit of work to kind of get that rectified. So I don't know if that's a common thing that ever happens to websites or something we should watch for, but I'd just like to understand that.
For sure, through you, Mr. Mayor, for sure. We do go through a plugin vetting process that we make sure that a plugin is used throughout the world globally at a threshold that we make sure that we limit the possibility as much as possible that could happen. But that is a reality of that kind of market, the plugin market. So, but as JC said, with we won't leave you high and dry. We'll work with you, especially with that 5-year plan to make sure remediate that risk or in that happening for you. Yeah.
Councillor Forder?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you once again. When we had previous discussions in council, when this subject was coming to our table, it was explained to us that being a municipal website, there is a higher, greater necessity for enhanced cybersecurity compared to other websites. So I just maybe want to get some comment from you guys with regards to what specific security measures are in place that that sort of, I guess, warrant that statement if that is true, that there are specific security and safety protocols that are required for a corporation like the municipality of Meaford versus, say, like a private business. Maybe I could just get some comment on that if you don't mind, please.
Absolutely. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Tenzing does have rigorous cybersecurity policies that all of our employees go through to make sure that we deal with any kind of information that comes upon us that could be sensitive. We're aware of what we need to do and the procedures that surround sensitive information. So we're trained on these matters, and as well as through the hosting provider, that we choose only hosting that's through a Canadian provider, as well as we work with Meaford IT to make sure that when we upon launch time, that we're following all the specifications that you require of us for hosting the website.
And thank you for that. I don't know if that really answers the question because I'm just not sure how that differs from a private business. Because like a private company would have the same requirements. And I sort of have a follow-up. And I don't mean to question anybody, so I say this with respect. But why is it so much more expensive to build a website for a municipality than it would be for a private corporation? I just wanted to get some comment from you guys, just if there is any reason, like I just still have a hard time wrapping my head around it. I don't have a problem paying for it because I know that we need it. But I just really haven't been able to get an answer that I can truly understand. So I don't know if that's appropriate. And if it isn't, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just really trying to understand because we're using taxpayers' money here. So I just want to make sure that we fully understand how we're spending every single dollar. So, but thank you. And again, I'm not trying to insult anybody, of course. Thank you.
I can answer that in part through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Forder. One thing that I'll just highlight, and Tenzing introduced it in some of their introductory remarks, is the amount of stakeholder engagement that's a part of this project. So as part of this, there are a number of different stakeholder meetings and training sessions and back and forth that's happening. How I like to think of this a little bit sometimes is like we're moving a cruise ship, we're not moving a Sea-Doo. So you're having a lot more people involved in making decisions, and this can result sometimes in some more work on the part of the consultant as opposed to someone that may be a business owner themselves and they are the sole decision maker, and your stakeholder list for your project is much, much smaller. So that's just one element or one perspective that I can add from seeing the work of the different projects teams.
CAO Everett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think just to add to a point of Councillor Forder in regards to the cybersecurity, I don't know if it's necessarily correct in saying that the cybersecurity is harder. I think the reality is the content that the municipality has and the protection of personal information. The website is an entry into our system. So whether it be tax roll information, personal information, which I understand businesses can have, municipalities and government are often sort of attacked by cyber. So it's wanting to make sure that we have a fully secure system. And one of the things that that was mentioned was before this website moves forward. And as it moves forward, our IT department has been very much involved in this, making sure that those, checks and balances are done. And lastly, I think the reality is from anything government, there is a bit of an extra charge, I believe. But I also look at the number of drop downs and the number of pages and the number of actual information pages in a municipal website is really significant. So those are just the pieces, just from having experience of doing a couple of these projects. There is a, and not to say again, on the private sector, there isn't a lot of work to websites. The depth of municipal or provincial or county websites is just phenomenal. And I do think that's where the price is to be paid. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, I was just going to say there are two of us who are qualified to ask dumb questions now that we've had really intelligent questions. So I'll let you go first, Councillor Greenfield, and I'll follow you.
Well, I'll ask the question and then you can decide whether it's worthwhile. First of all, thank you for your presentation and for all your efforts, and they're much appreciated, even from a computer illiterate like myself. I'm amazed. I'm impressed. What I want to ask is through you, the mayor, to Ms. Maroney, to our clerk, our CAO, and our deputy clerk way back in the corner there. From what you have seen, heard, learned thus far, is this what you were expecting? Is this what you were hoping for? Is there anything that is not maybe as prevalent in this as you folks had imagined? Because I think this is all about staff too. This isn't just about council. It isn't just about our public. It has to be right for you folks too. So can you help me on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to Councillor Greenfield. I'll just go first. I had a list of priorities that I had set out that I was looking for, and I'm very much like you from a computer piece. I want simple, and I want the user to be able to find information without having to go through a bunch of different pages. So I'm really impressed with the language that we're using, because it's actually not language that we would necessarily use in-house. Because quite frankly, when you in the public sector, we use terms that the public don't understand. So I like how we've been able to make sure that the language speaks to allows people to understand what they're looking for. And I always say, if somebody's looking for a landfill, people don't understand it being the solid waste disposal site. So that piece. I think the other piece that I've been very happy with is it's just a clean website. It's not too busy. It's clean. And then the last piece that I do want to really identify, it's a critical piece to be able to take the website to the accessibility committee before it came here. And that's something that worked with staff on, making sure that I wanted that to be first, so then that way council knew that the accessibility committee gave their thumbs up on this. And oftentimes municipalities miss that and, approve a website, then hear from their accessibility committee. So doing it the accessibility committee first, I think it was hugely important. And I think, an extremely worthwhile exercise. So I think it's turned out really, really well. And I would agree. I like the added Apple. It makes me happy too.
If I can ask a dumb question, we were.
If I may,
Sorry, did you want to finish your?
In response to our CAO, I got the impression that the accessibility committee was actually quite honored to to have this presentation made to them initially. And they did have a lot of questions, and I think they were very pleased with what we're attempting to do.
Now, I'm just going to ask, we were to make a choice, and I'm not sure I've seen Plan A. Did I miss it? They were both there at the first, and I missed it, I guess. Sorry about that.
I'll just flip through the two options really quickly, Mr.
Yes, thank you very much.
So option A, the variation for option A are the way that we rendered the icons here, where it's white on a blue circle. Also, option A, news and notices is on the left, calendar is on the right, and that just depends on what our preference is on what we think the community is interested in first, left to right. And option A has the straight line that separates the footer from the rest of the content and the blue highlight here on the corner. Option B, the variation on the icon is just, it's blue on the page. We flipped the order of news and community calendar. So the calendar becomes the first thing that a user would notice or see. And finally, option B has the silhouette of the apple on the right-hand side and a red highlight at the bottom left corner.
Some subtle, yeah, for sure. But anyway, thank you very much. That's very, very helpful. Go ahead, Councillor Ennis.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. The more I look at this page exactly, the more, I don't know if there's a reason for this, but the typefaces from the logo and the wording of welcome to the municipality of Meaford, them not being the same typeface, I don't know, it really catches my eye in an odd way. Like, I think if the typefaces were the same, it would really help create like a good sort of synergy between the two. But that's just a very small opinion. But I wanted to ask also, Holly, so we've gone to the accessibility committee. I'm wondering if we've interacted with businesses or if we're planning to yet, because I imagine that aside from like, service related things, the sort of next biggest users, especially of the business and economy section, are going to be all of the businesses getting permits, especially the builders, things like that. So I just want to make sure we have time spent with them to get their feedback.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Ennis, that's a great question. Today, we do not have that planned given the extremely tight project timeline. And we made that clear throughout the process of bringing this to council that the timeline unfortunately did not allow for that. And while we have not directly made a plan to engage with businesses, we have spent a lot of time with our small and medium business liaison. And we've got a lot of her feedback, as well as used a lot of the data from what we have from the current website to inform and make more prominent different resources for the business community on this page.
Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two. One is, and I'll be a dog with a bone. One is, I'm going to ask Tenzing, do you have a lot of experience with dealing with designing with municipal websites? Is that kind of part of your foray? The reason I ask is because I thought, okay, if you're going to compare, let's go right to the top. I looked at toronto.ca, the municipal. It is surprisingly clean. It is not unlike what you've presented here, actually. It's very similar, and it's very functional. So kudos to that. I'm just wondering, have you done a lot of other municipal websites?
Yes, we have in the past worked with the municipality of Brighton for their municipality website, and we're currently working with the City of Guelph team, not for the municipality website, but for the EDC.
Right. So if I may, the second point was when I said earlier about the tourism aspect, and Holly, you said about the microsites. And I understand what's a really good example is, for example, Meaford Hall is going to have a very robust background because of all the events that are going on constantly, et cetera, et cetera. Under the, that right there, the laptop or the desktop. So community and recreation is, and again, we're looking at tourism, ECDEV, blah, blah, blah. When I go to the toronto.ca, they have community and people. And under there, I apologize, explore and enjoy is they've got services and payments, community, people, businesses, economy, explore, enjoy, and city government. Explore and enjoy, underneath that, they've got festivals, events, parks and rec, history, arts and culture, welcome to Toronto. So they have encapsulated that within that website. By going there to the website, it's easy to get to that. Under there, I would assume would be Meaford Hall, et cetera, things like that. Just again, is that going to be considered a microsite within that to do that? Or is it necessary to create another microsite to have the tourism ECDEV aspect, or can it be kind of bundled in here very much like Toronto.ca did very well with their Explore, and that's their ECDEV envelope?
I can try to answer that for you. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Urick, I can explain this in the way that we set it out as part of our RFP requirements and our understanding as staff in what we were asking for. So with the microsite, and included in this project was the municipal website and then the 3 microsites. So that gives us the ability to have one design that Tenzing is creating for it. So when you go to the Meaford Public Library site, the Meaford Hall site, and the museum site, even with this refreshed look, it will look very similar to this. So they're doing one design for us, and we'll be able to apply those unique color palettes for those sites. But what will look different is each of them will have their own navigation. So we designed them with their own categories where you'll see service, recreation. They'll be tailored to each of those different ones. So we called that a site map through our process. So each of them will have their own, given their very unique target audiences and uses as part of those pages. And we work directly with the staff at the respective locations to ensure that it meets their needs. I'll just add that you say you pulled up the city of Toronto. We have looked at municipalities, cities, townships, everything across Canada, the US, to explore what is the common terminology used? Is it in layman's terms? And does that actually work for our community? We kept going back and forth to Wasaga Beach as a good comparison as well to the city of Toronto, but we don't really have the festivals and things like that that they do. And we have some very different assets in our community that we're wanting to highlight. For example, the water. We're wanting to make sure that Memorial Park and the harbor and all of our different community halls and the uniqueness of those communities are highlighted as part of this project. So I hope that that answers your question with the microsites and each of them having their own unique identity as well as sort of the bone structure on the inside for that navigation. Can I clarify for you on something? Okay.
Other questions? If not, I really want to thank you, Holly, because I think that everything had to be filtered through you, and you're the right age and everything else to, be able to, do this really well on our behalf, and we really appreciate it. Any final thoughts? Sure, go ahead, Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. If council's ready to proceed with direction, I believe that the group is hoping to have distinguishing direction on whether it's option A or B. So at this time, there's a motion on the floor that has a blank, which isn't something we normally do, but recognizing this is a decision of council, I would just ask for a mover and a seconder for the option that council wishes to move forward with, and then we'll have a vote on that. And then direction will be provided to staff and that they can keep moving forward.
So can we have a mover and a seconder to go with option B? Councillor Forder and Councillor Ennis, thank you. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. So And that really concludes the first part of our meeting then. So we're going to recess until 5 o'clock. And at that time, we have a public meeting concerning a drainage recommendation. So Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another special meeting of Meaford Council. We had a meeting that began at 3 o'clock this afternoon, in which we had a presentation concerning the new website for the municipality of Meaford. And we're reconvening now to consider item 8 on our agenda. And I will need a motion to table this recommendation that Council of the Municipality of Meaford receive the preliminary engineering report prepared by R.J. Burnside and Associates Limited dated January 30th, 2026, and 2, if the petition is deemed valid, direct R.J. Burnside and Associates to proceed with preparation of the final engineering report for the Paradise Bay Municipal Drain. So a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Greenfield and seconded by Councillor Yorick. All in favor? No, we don't have to. Okay, thank you. So this is now on the table. And the purpose of this meeting to consider is governed by Section 10 of the Drainage Act, and it is to discuss the options that are contained within the preliminary engineer's report for the Paradise Bay Municipal Drain. Council will entertain questions regarding the work proposed in the report and the total estimated cost of the project. The preliminary report contains an initial evaluation of the proposed drain and options to consider, but it is not considered a final report. If a final report is prepared after this meeting, it will include additional details with regards to costs, design, and assessments to the landowners within the watershed. Once the final report is submitted, another meeting will be held to consider the final report. So now I'm going to introduce Edison Peel and Jeremy Taylor from R.J. Burnside and Associates Limited, who will give us an overview of the preliminary report and options considered within the report. Gentlemen?
With me tonight is Jeremy Taylor, Senior Engineer with Burnside. I trust everyone has had an opportunity to review the report, so I will try to be brief, but we are available to answer any questions you may have. This preliminary report was prepared in response to an appointment by the municipality of Meaford in April of 2024. Burnside investigated the drainage issues on the properties of the petitioning owners. The petition was submitted by Dave Desker and Mary Campbell, as well as the municipality of Meaford, the Road Authority of Bayshore Road. The purpose of today's meeting is to review the potential drainage solutions that have been identified, provide an order of magnitude of the associated costs, and give an opportunity for landowners to add or withdraw their names from the petition. There are 2 existing channels referred to as the north and south drain in the report. The north drain services 35 hectares and the south drain services 23 hectares. Both drains outlet into Georgian Bay. The first drawing attached in the report depicts these 2 watersheds. Generally, the surface water flows east to west down the embankment, and during heavy rainfall events creates flooding and erosion on Bayshore Road and other private lands. Several photos of the existing conditions are provided in the report. An on-site meeting was held with the petitioners in September of 2024, and an information meeting was held with all landowners identified within the watershed of the north and south drain in May of 2025. To review the proposed solutions, discuss costs, and receive landowner feedback. Following the meeting, the landowners provided additional photos, videos, and accounts of the drainage issues. As a result of the meeting and landowner feedback, additional design options were considered and included as part of the preliminary report. There are 6 options provided in the report, complete with an estimate of the associated cost. The options provide a variety of work, including tree clearing, channel deepening, erosion protection, culvert replacement and upsizing, and the creation of stormwater management ponds. Option 1 includes work on the south drain from Paradise Bay Road to the bay. It involves the lining of the channel from Paradise Bay Road to the bay with stone and replacing one existing culvert. Option 2 includes work on the south drain but extends all the way to Bayshore Road. This option includes an additional 3 culverts within the Bayshore Road right-of-way. Option 3 includes work on the north drain from Bayshore Road to the bay. This option includes channel improvement, erosion protection, and the installation of a new culvert under Bayshore Road. Option 4 is the combination of option 2 and 3, which is to service both the north and south watershed. Option 5 is the same as option 4, except provides for the diversion of water from the south drain to the north drain on the Juniper Enterprises property. This option diverts some of the stormwater away from the residential structures along Paradise Bay Road. Option 6 is the most extensive and includes the work described in option 4, as well as the installation of 3 stormwater management ponds to reduce the peak flow so that erosion and flooding can be mitigated and better controlled on downstream properties. A summary of the proposed costs can be found on Table 5 on page 17 of the report. These options have been presented and discussed with the municipality of Meaford staff, especially with regards to the road crossings through Bayshore Road. Following this meeting, provided there is a sufficient number of petitioners, Burnside will take feedback received and produce a final report, complete with a single design and landowner cost assessments. Thank you for your time and consideration, and Jeremy and I are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. And I will ask first members of council if you have any questions for our engineers. Doesn't appear that we have at this time, but we can come back to councilors. So now we have some people who have registered to speak, and I'm going to call on them first. But I want to make it clear that anyone affected by this matter is welcome to speak at this meeting. So first, I'm going to call on Dave Desker, who is in the gallery. Can someone, yes, we're going to get your mic on there and maybe adjust the mic to your, good.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and member of council. My name's Dave Desker. My family and I have been residents of Paradise Bay for the last close to 25 years. For over 2 decades, we've experienced repeated failures of the Bayshore catch basin. That's to the east side of Bayshore at the top of the hill. It regularly plugs with ice and debris, overtops Bayshore Road and discharges into the Yartley Ditch, an outlet that was never intended to receive that flow. This has resulted in road erosion and downstream impacts. However, these issues were intermittent and manageable. That changed in April 2022. Prior to April 2022, water flowed north across the Juniper Enterprises lands into the wetlands identified on the Gray-Sauble Conservation Authority wetlands map and ultimately towards Georgian Bay. I've issued a little map that reflects that flow prior to April 2022. In April 2022, a trench was constructed that directed this flow south into the Yartley Ditch, as referenced in the Burnside report. From that point forward, all the water that historically flowed north was discharged into the Yartley Ditch system. That was a material alteration of the established drainage pattern. The impacts have been immediate and continuous. We are now experiencing ongoing shoreline erosion, elevated and sustained flood risk, physical damage to property. In fact, the Campbell residences already experienced basement flooding with significant loss and expense. Both our family and the Campbells have undertaken shoreline protection measures at our own expense, costing thousands of dollars solely to mitigate the effects of this redirected flow. These impacts directly correlate with the April 2022 diversion. In March 2024, we initiated a ditch petition in good faith to resolve these issues. However, the options presented in the engineering report that we're looking at today reported range from $210,000 to $1.2 million. They involve extensive excavation, tree removal, significant environmental disturbance. They also place a disproportionate financial burden on landowners, all our neighbors, many of whom did not create this problem. These recommendations do not align with the root cause of the issue. The root cause, the situation is a result of two primary factors: failure of township-owned infrastructure, which is the basin at the top of the hill, a deliberate alteration of historic drainage in April 2022. Any solution that does not address these two factors will be ineffective or unnecessarily costly. A practical and proportionate solution, in my mind, is available for this. The Bayshore Catch Basin is municipal infrastructure. It has a long documented history of failure due to clogging and insufficient capacity. If infrastructure is undersized or inadequately maintained, responsibility for correction rests with the township. A proper fix requires adequate hydraulic design, debris-resistant intake, and a defined maintenance protocol. Maintenance is critical. Prior to April 2022, water flowed north across the Juniper Enterprise lands into wetlands as identified in the Grace Harbor Conservation Authority wetlands map. That flow was redirected south of the Artley Ditch as confirmed in the Bayshore report, Burnside report. Since that change, downstream impacts have increased substantially. Where a drainage system is altered and damages result, responsibility for remediation follow that alteration. Restoring the historic drainage pattern addresses the problem at its source. If additional storm capacity is required, it should be addressed in a focused manner. This includes proper sizing of the culvert at Paradise Bay and Artley Road, installation of riprap, stabilization in targeted areas. These are proportional, evidence-based measures. Shoreline stabilization we have already installed has proven effective. Before imposing significant costs on landowners, council should adopt a phased approach. Repair or replace the township infrastructure, restore historic drainage flow, upgrade culvert capacity, and stabilize key areas. Monitor system performance and only escalate if necessary. Not necessarily jump into this big cost of any of these options presented right away, but after the fact, we can add any of those options rather than committing to them right up front. This matters fundamentally and responsibly proportionality. Landowners should not be required to fund large-scale solutions to problems caused by failing municipal infrastructure and alterations to establish drainage patterns. We're asking council to align the solution with the cause. Targeted phase approach will resolve the issue effectively without imposing unnecessary financial and environmental costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Desker. Now I'm going to call on Yvonne Hornick, who will be heard virtually. Can you hear us, Yvonne? We're calling Yvonne Hornick. Are you on the line? You have to unmute your mic, Yvonne. We will come back to you if you are able to get your technical problem solved. I'll call it this time on Matt Feldman. Are you hearing us, Mr. Feldman?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Meaford Council, meeting attendees. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Matt Feldman, and I'm a landowner 2 properties south of the Artley Road ditch, roll number 07010. The proposed design options in this report, I don't think, meet the realities of this community and aren't equitable in their distribution. First, the financial impact. For Meaford to consider these larger quote unquote solutions is just an unreasonable cost for landowners to bear. But they're also disproportionately large when simpler, less expensive options exist, as Dave just noted very, very nicely. But the historic water flow was clearly altered by changes made by one landowner in April 22 to a lot on the north side of Paradise Bay, Artley Road. When that sheer amount of trees was removed without consultation with anyone on the road, it significantly reduced the landscape's ability to intercept, absorb, and slow snowmelt and rainfall. The soil structure changed. Without trees, surface runoff increases. The inputs have fewer places to go. And further, excavating that ditch, in addition to other excavation, effectively put an exclamation point on all that newly available water. The water had an express route, or now has an express route down the road to the bay. We did not ask for that. You can go to Google Maps right now and look for yourself at freely available historical satellite data for easy visual proof of the magnitude of these changes. Second, Meaford's proposals serve to prioritize one landowner's gains while socializing the costs. That's not okay. Other upstream issues did exist. Clearly, the catch basin on Paradise Bay Road and Bayshore, that intersection is an issue. So this is not the entire story. But as Dave has clearly articulated just prior, there is a more modest and practical and proportional, most importantly, proportional 3-point approach that addresses this issue fairly and equitably. Repair or replace the Bayshore catch basin. Require the person responsible for the April 22 alterations to the water flow to restore the original drainage flow pattern as it existed prior to April 22. And as Dave noted, monitor the existing culvert and upgrade if needed. This simpler, equitable approach has my support, not the increasingly extensive and expensive options in this report. Thank you for the opportunity to address the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Feldman. Our next speaker will be Paul Siri. Can you hear us, Mr. Siri? It doesn't appear to be online. He's there. Can you unmute your microphone? Okay, we'll go on to our last speaker, and we'll come back to these previous ones. James Wilkins, can you hear us, Mr. Wilkins? He's not online. Okay. We're back. Is Yvonne Hornick available at this time? Is Paul Siri available at this time? Okay, then we will move on to anyone else in the audience, in the gallery, who would like to address council. Gentlemen, would you step up to the microphone and give us your name, please?
This one here.
That's right. Yeah, and maybe just pull it down a little bit so that that's good. Should be good.
My name is Jerry Holmes. This is my wife Carolyn. We live on the property, lot 22, concession A, calling, or help me here. Well, Annan anyway. So, you know where, I'm 82 years old, so I may lose a moment here, but I'm going to tell you something. I had an outburst here earlier tonight.
And I think it's just criminal what went on with this thing. I think this man made a terrible mistake doing this sort of thing. He wants to put 2 ponds in the middle of our agricultural fields. 2 ponds. We have nothing to do with the drainage or anything. We take hay off those fields. That's part of our livelihood. What the frig is going on? And, you know, it's just this man. I'm 82 years old. I crawled down in an 8-foot ditch to look under the tile underneath the Bayshore Road. I've got pictures of it. May I approach you and pass these around to you?
Maybe you, let me ask for, okay, yes, but perhaps hold them up so that members
Yes,
of council can see
okay.
them in particular.
Mr. Disker, I think made a valid point. This has just been overblown so tremendously. And it's just upset us. This past 2 weeks have been a real nightmare for us. I hope everybody around here understands this. This isn't about money to us. This is about our livelihood. My great grandfather, and I think Harley Greenfield's wife's mother, was a Landry, and they were Acadians, and their land was taken in 1753, and they were exported to France. And they had no recompense, nothing. This is akin to that. Their son came to Canada in 1809. He was recruited by the Kingston Boatyard of the Royal Navy, and he built ships. He was an artificer and a shipbuilder, and he built ships, and he was captured on the Earl of Mora by the famous U.S. battleship, the Lady of the Lake. And he was imprisoned in Massachusetts for a year and a half came back to Canada after the war, and he was granted 200 acres after his working life was over. His name was Alexis Landry, Landrie, and he was granted 200 acres at the narrows of Lake Couchiching and Lake Simcoe. When he got there in 1932, somebody was already on it. Turned around, went back to Kingston, applied again, and he was granted 200 acres in St. Vincent Township. He was the first resident of St. Vincent Township. Isn't St. Vincent? No, the time. If you know where Lambs are or Knights of Meaford are, that was his farm. And Ross, maybe, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Kentner, may be old enough to know the stone house that sat there before they changed the highway. That was his house. He built that in 1834. His son was John Baptiste Landry, and my grandmother on my father's side was Adeline Landry. And the name got changed to Laundry. It got anglicized to Laundry, and that's where we are today. She married John Holmes, who was the first commercial apple grower in Thornbury, one of the first. Carolyn and I operated a 75-acre apple orchard in Meaford. We've worked hard all our life, and we've never asked for anything from anybody. And we get this thrown on us. And if that maybe explain why I was so upset and so emotional here before. I hope it does, and I apologize to everybody for it. I'm going to show you some pictures of the municipal drain under the Bayshore. If you can see enough stones in there to make a necklace, I'll eat my hat. And that they want to replace, and they want to move it up closer to a tile, which Mr. Disker mentioned was the Bayshore catch basin that's at the bottom of our road. They want to dig up the Bayshore Road, abandon this tile, move it up, cut the Bayshore Road right at the bottom of our lane and go across, right where the gravel supposedly comes down and enters those culverts. I've never seen anything so foolish in all my life and less thought out, and I'm not an engineer. And another thing that bugs the crap out of me is that this sign, which I will pass around at the Bay Shore Road, where's the big one? Reads private drive, no exit, no trespass. We've been there 30 years. I've maybe been down there once. When I took some wood down to somebody bought some wood from me. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I do not do. And what the heck is the town of Meaford doing involved on private property in an elite neighborhood and soaking the people upstream? Even the thought of that to me is offensive, and it should be to all of you. I heard somebody else talk about a previous situation when we came in here, and this is worse. And you know who gets to choose who pays? Tell me, Mr. Edison, who gets to choose?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the engineer does have the discretion to complete the assessments under the Drainage Act and using the various sections in the report to determine those assessments.
So you made a mess of this, and you get to choose who pays.
So this is getting outside of, what we're looking for as information from you. And I say that you're expanding your comments beyond where I think they belong
Okay,
today. So,
well, I want, you understand what I said
Yeah,
about the private drive.
yep.
Are you gonna are you gonna ask them to enter into my property and fix all my drains? The town of Meaford?
We're just trying to get to understand everybody's point of view on this and their
Well,
information. and-
I'm asking you though, would you come up, and get a report made up on our property and our drains?
That is not our function, my function. That's not my function.
No,
So,
well, it
anyway,
shouldn't be anybody's function, because
but this is.
that's
this is-
private property
yeah.
and the general public has no access there.
What
We've been asked to pay for this and we can't even go down and look at it.
So as I explained to you a little earlier, before the meeting started, we're here to try and help.
Yeah,
and
I
we
understand
really
that, but
want
I
to-
just I want to make it perfectly clear to everybody. This is a private drive. It's not assumed by the municipality. And it's like my laneway, and my laneway is 1,700 feet long. And I don't think you want to do that, but I want to address another issue with the pooling of the road. And I'll show you in the pictures. He mentioned the pooling of the road, water on the road. There's no evidence of that, no photographic evidence in the report. And so it's based on hearsay. The road there, do you know, Mr. Peel, would you tell everybody what a cant is? What the word cant means?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure I understand the question.
C-A-N-T. A cant means a slope. And the cant refers to a road. And if you look at the road and Bay Shore Road, if you look at the road to Paradise Bay, when they redid the road, the cant of the road, of the slope of the road, is at least 6 or 8 inches higher on the Paradise Bay side than it is on our side, the east side. So the town of Meaford did a beautiful job of resurfacing Bay Shore Road. They put a plastic type coating on it. It's beautiful, smooth, it's holding up well. But the cant of the road, when it rains, and if it rains heavy, which side of the road do you think the water's gonna go on, Mr. Peel?
Through your worship, I don't think that some of these questions are appropriate for our engineer to answer, as they are here to discuss the drainage petition and the engineering around
Who's
that.
speaking?
That is our Director of
What do you
Engineering.
mean it's not
Public Works.
relevant? He said that the water pools there, and he showed no evidence at all of it.
So show us your picture and let's move on.
Well, I would like these to be passed around to people to see that what goes, and I don't think we deserve to get animosity from anybody here. We are stating our fact, we are fighting for our life.
I understand.
If
Thank you very
somebody
much.
put a pond in your backyard, I'm sure you would be here.
So just pass those around and I'm going to move
Well,
on.
I would
in the
like to
meeting.
show you the cant of the road to
So
prove that.
if you pass them around, and maybe Margaret, could I ask you to actually pass them around the horseshoe so that the councillors can see his pictures? That would be fine. And we'll, has there been any? Okay, so who is there now? Okay. So now we're gonna pass these around, and I'm gonna ask you to take your seat, please. Yeah. So. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to take your seat, please, now, because we haven't got all night for this meeting. And I'm going to encourage.
Just a moment. I want to make sure that when a decision, when you people are voting on it, I want a recorded vote.
That will be something that council will decide itself. That's the rules. And I think the point I want to make is a lot of what you are incensed about here is the provincial law that is being administered through the Drainage Act. And everybody is here to try and help all of you resolve these issues. So, but we need to move on so that everyone can have a chance to be heard. And so James Wilkins is available now online. Can you hear us, Mr. Wilkins?
I can. Can you all hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with everything the gentleman who just finished speaking has said. It is a private laneway. It is a private settlement of very well-to-do individuals. And if the city of Meaford is paying for private drains, I'd like to know where I sign up.
And that's what you have to say, Mr. Wilkins?
Well, I'd also like to say that if the council decides when a recorded vote takes place or not, that is no transparency. That is no accountability.
And that is your opinion.
That is fact. I'm sorry. And could you just pass me the email address where I can sign up to have drains paid for by the taxpayer on my private property?
I'm sure that council would not object to a recorded vote on this matter, but
well, and that's not that. I'm sorry. That's exactly not what you said. You said the council will decide, and anytime the council of Meaford is attempted to be held accountable for anything, they turn their tail and run.
That's your opinion. Have you made your points, Mr. Wilkins?
No. I'd like to cede the remainder of my time to the gentleman who just finished speaking because you cut him off in a rather undemocratic fashion. If everyone's to have their say here, then he should be able to finish having his say.
Well, we've got quite a large room full of people who may wish to speak as well. And I'm sorry you feel that way, but I have to move on at this point as well. So if you have nothing more to say to
well, heaven forbid that critical voices are heard.
So what do you want to criticize?
Well, as I say, and as the gentleman who spoke so well before me said, we're dealing with a private project. We're dealing with a private group of individuals, and I don't see why the Council of Meaford sees fit to take taxpayer money to pay for this private development.
You go ahead, Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tori, maybe I should have asked this at the start when you did ask about council questions. I think we really need to clarify what we're actually here to do at this meeting tonight. We're not here, I don't believe, to make a vote on what is going to eventually be the cost proportion to everybody. This has to be decided whether this is even going to happen. But my understanding of this meeting is about people wanting to join or remove themselves from this petition. So I think we need to really discuss what we need to discuss. And at another date later, there will be conversations about whether or not this even takes place and who will be responsible for. So it's just a cart before a horse a little bit here. And I think we need some clarification on that.
Thank you, Councillor Urick. I mean, that is my point. We are here to hear evidence, but at the end of the day, it will be the signatories to the petition who will determine, whether this goes forward or not. It really is in their hands. So, Tori, did you wish to make a point here?
Through your worship, if it's appropriate for me to interject, I just wanted to first off identify this is a provincial process that the municipality is required to be a part of. And so we are all here to follow through on that provincial process, which does have different points throughout it that bring together the public, engineers, and council. And so today we are reviewing the preliminary design report. This is not a required portion of the Drainage Act, but it is a stream that can be added on when required. And our engineer identified that it was appropriate for this municipal drain so that we could review multiple options. Sometimes drains are quite straightforward and there is only one option that proceeds to final design. And so the intention of tonight is to hear from all parties interested in speaking, as well as specifically the petitioners, to understand the options that are preferred, as well to understand and allow people to either add or remove their names from the petition. And then from that information, depending on if the petition is still valid or not, council has the ability to then approve us proceeding to a final report. And so really the first step is hearing from everyone tonight, which obviously we're in the process of doing. And then our engineer will help us understand, and there'll be a point where we can understand and allow petitioners to either add or remove their names and determine if it is still a valid petition. So we are, I guess, still at a fairly preliminary point. There are 6 options as were identified. Some have less of an impact and fewer residents involved, and some are more wide scale, as was previously mentioned by the last speaker. But I do want to really highlight the municipality is helping a provincial process. And so the provincial process allows for private property owners to petition or to want drainage across theirs and multiple other properties. And this is their way of making that happen if there is enough support for it. And so we appreciate hearing everyone's perspective, because we do appreciate knowing that if people do not feel that it is appropriate in this location, or if they do, or if there is other solutions that maybe could be looked at. And so hopefully that provides a little bit more context as we continue to hear from the people in the audience.
Thank you, Tori. And if I wanted to identify Tori Parijma is the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works for the Municipality of Meaford. And thank you for clarifying. I was trying to make the point that this is a provincial process and we are simply executing it on their behalf. So is there anyone else online?
Sirius back on. But then who's still there?
Who's still there?
Uh,
Okay, and because we haven't heard from her. Who's Mike? Yes, Paul, Siri, would you please go ahead?
Hi, I had trouble unmuting my microphone earlier. I appreciate the time. I just would echo Mr. Desker regarding these extraordinary expenses for which my property, it doesn't contribute anything towards flooding, nor would it benefit at all. So I'm a little leery with this hanging over my head, these massive expenses. That's all I really want to say. The first speaker made most of my points, and in the interest of, being frugal with people's time, I'll pass on to the next speaker.
Thank you very much, sir. And Yvonne Hornick, can you hear us? Are you there, Yvonne? Your mic is open. Please go ahead. Okay. This is a case where sometimes technologies. Okay, Yvonne, can you hear us?
Because of this.
Yeah, you're going to have to get right into your microphone and speak up. Okay. Unfortunately, at our end, there's nothing we can do to make her apparatus work. So I think that is everyone. Yes, anyone in the audience who would like to speak, please go ahead. Take the microphone there and just give us your name, please.
My name is Murray Smith, and I have graded gravel back onto driveways at Paradise Bay and Bayshore Road. And up until last year, that culvert had about 2 inches for water to flow through it. And I want to thank the township municipality for this year taking out that damn grate, because that grate was catching debris, and as soon as you removed that, water started to move through. And this spring, when the thaw came, I raced out from home and brought a pole and unplugged the end of the north end of the culvert. And that's why those pictures are clean. It shows a wide open culvert. And if you take a walk out there right now, you'll see a truckload of gravel in the ditch that has been washed out, flushed out of that culvert. So please do not ever put that grate back in place, because I'm tired of having to grade driveways back to get it back where it was. Now, I moved down here in 2000, and I remember that across Juniper's property, there was a canal that you could float a canoe in, and it was collecting the water off the floodplain and feeding it north. Today, that canal is not there. And my understanding from provincial law is that you cannot alter water drainage that impacts other property. I'm a retired civil engineer, have worked on drainage systems. So I think that my feeling is that the petitioners should withdraw their signature on the petition. And am I correct that the municipality pays for the preliminary report, or is that going to be followed on to the landowners? Who pays for that?
I believe it's my understanding that it is paid for by the landowners who signed on the petition. And I see a nod. Is that correct?
So the people who signed the petition have to pay for the preliminary.
That is my understanding.
What is the cost of the preliminary?
Do we know that?
The cost to date is 45,000. And the cost, I'll just provide a little bit of clarification, would only be assessed if the process stopped today to those petitioners. If we proceed to a final report, there would be a whole set of assessments to accompany the report and the proposed design.
So you're looking at 45,000 plus tax? Plus.
There's always tax.
Yes, there's always tax. But now that means that I believe there's 2 signatures on the petition? Are we allowed to
Can you
know?
clarify that?
Through your worship, there are 3 petitioners and the municipality is one of them.
So the municipality is one of the signatures and 2 others. So 45,000 means that 15,000 each would be responsible for the preliminary.
Yes.
Okay. So right now, that culvert catch basin is doing a wonderful job. And I do not see climate changing to the point that as long as those grates are kept out of there, and right now it's lying on private property, please get rid of it. Don't ever put it back in, because it's like putting a screen in your kitchen sink. What happens if you don't clean it out? And this spring was the first time that I've seen the municipality go out there and clean out that catch basin before the snow melts. I think I've said enough.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We appreciate your contribution. Is there anyone else, and I'll come right back to council. Is there anyone else in the gallery that would like to speak? It's not your last opportunity, but it is an opportunity under the process. Then I'll go to council, and Councillor Bell, you had a question.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for everybody for coming out. If you don't come out, we don't hear from you. How are we supposed to know? So now we've been hearing, and now we have a little bit more information from those of you who are highly affected by this. A couple of questions I have, but I'll just ask them in a row, and then the appropriate people can answer it. In the report, it says the property owners from different properties were in attendance, as well as representatives of the municipality and Burnside. There was about 7 that were there, maybe 9. And this is breaking down to the 2 that actually filed for the petition to be activated. And because it's municipalities road, as our director has said, that instantaneously kicked in the municipality of Meaford to be one of the ones in the process. So we've had a person come who's very upset, and he's upset for one reason. I do not believe that that person is the person who is one of the ones who has asked for this to be looked into. He's very affected by this. Unless you are, I'll leave that. Unless, of course, you are one of the ones.
Go ahead.
Okay. Unless you are one of the ones who has filed, today's an opportunity then to withdraw. So if you withdraw the petition, you've just been told there's already been some money which has been incurred, and it's going to get heavier. It's in the report, right up over $1 million if that's what's chosen. So today's preliminary report is an option to hear questions from the public, landowners who are affected, any other comments to be rendered at this time, for the engineers who are in our presence to determine if this is still a valid application. So if it's not a valid application today, it ends at this point with costs currently incurred. And the municipality, I've heard some things about the ditches that are out there and the culverts that are out there, and because someone asked or found out, can we do something about the problem with the water rushing across the road and wiping things out? And someone probably said, I think you can do a petition for the Drainage Act. And that has started. And that's where we're at today. So all of these meetings that have taken place, people have been there. And I want to know then, where did the meeting take place? Was there a rented hall? Was there a farmhouse who's somebody's property that was the guest host for this activity? And after that, and today, are the people who have still asked for this to be investigated still on board for moving this forward, knowing the implications to the neighbors around who never asked for this to be done? So there may be 3 questions there, but anyway, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, now, gentleman from Burnside, do you have a response for,
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Bell,
Sorry.
could you please break those up for us and just give us the first question?
Okay. Thank you, through you. Where was the meeting held?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the initial on-site meeting was held on-site with the landowners just at the intersection of Paradise Bay Road and Artley Road. And the information meeting was held at the Woodford Hall, 107 Woodford Crescent, Owen Sound.
Municipality of Meaford? Okay, other questions from council? Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, Your Worship. And first of all, I want to thank everybody for taking the time and the effort to come out this evening. I do have a couple of questions. I guess first a comment, and this meeting at Woodford Hall, I can't ever remember being aware of it. I certainly wasn't there. I don't know if it was for councillors or not. It sounds as if maybe it should have been. But anyway, that is past history. I want to ask about Artley Road. Now, I was out to Paradise Bay Road on Friday morning, and everything seemed quite calm, cool, and collected. But correct me if I'm wrong, are there 2 culverts under Artley Road? They'd be running north. According to my directions, they'd be running north and south under Artley Road. And I thought I saw 2. One seemed to be in good shape and clean. The other one you could hardly see. Are they a part of the problem? Are they perceived as part of the problem? I'm not going to get into Bayshore Road and what's happening there, but between Bayshore and the bay, there are these 2 culverts. Are they in any way responsible for this backup that occurs?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there are 2 culverts through Artley Road identified on our drawings in the report. They're shown with a green arrow. They are not in the path of our proposed drain, but they do contribute water through the road, making our watershed larger. So they do contribute water to the system, but they're not along the path of the drain.
Thanks for that, but I guess is it possible that they are adding to this problem down near the intersection? The drainage that they are conducting, is it a part of the problem?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, all of the water within the watershed does contribute and all forms part of the issues with flooding and erosion that the downstream properties are experiencing, all to different extents. how much they impact and how much land is draining through that area.
Councillor Yurick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to kind of ask the engineers about participation from the Grey Selva Conservation Authority at this point. Councillor Bell and I sit on GSCA, just wondering where they have kind of been in this process and conversation. Mr. Desker brought up the clearing of land, which has potentially contributed to this. I will say over the last 4 years, we've learned that, altering a watershed is problematic for a homeowner. So proportioning responsibility is kind of part of this, and I'm just not sure where GSEA, have they commented on this? Are they going to comment on this? If you could let us know that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the Conservation Authority has been invited to meetings and was notified at the start of this process as is required under the Drainage Act. They have received a copy of the preliminary report. At this time, they don't need to permit anything because there's not a single design option proposed. So they haven't provided specific comments.
Yeah, you were the chair of that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I was chair. I don't remember this coming up. So, but again, going back to proportioning responsibility. If somebody clears land that directly impacts properties downstream in a watershed, responsibility is supposed to fall within them, is what, am I wrong on that, Tony? That's the way it was explained to us. So I'm just wondering in this circumstance, how much of this is responsible to that tree lot being cleared to the degree it was? Has that been investigated? And is that part of the conversation that should be had?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we don't have a exact figure for how much impact has been had by the tree clearing. As the engineer, it's important to stay impartial, and review the existing conditions as we see them today. If there has been changes in the past, there are regulatory agencies that are not us to review those changes. And we do and would consider the current land type in determining the assessments and the runoff that land produces in our final report.
Go ahead.
If I may add, I think one of the questions that keeps coming up is the assessments and where we're at. And to be frank, we're not talking about assessments yet. Do we have some thoughts, maybe some initial, but we really, until we have an option selected, we really can't put any thoughts towards how this cost or what the assessments would be. So when we keep coming back to the change in land use that the landowners have brought up, we've heard that in the past, we're aware of it. But when we looked at options, we looked at trying to solve the solution or solve the problem that's in front of us here. So it will factor in to our assessments as we get to that stage, if we get to that stage, obviously. But like my colleague mentioned, the regulatory agencies are the ones responsible for that, not us.
Could I just get a little clearer understanding of what you're saying? Because I think what I'm hearing is that if you know that certain actions have negatively affected your property, you need to go see your lawyer. Like I get the impression that your job as engineers here under the Act is simply to come up with variable solutions to the problem. So much, and do you even have the ability to, try and engage a landowner who has apparently, impacted negatively the drainage through their neighbor's property?
You're correct in the fact, through you, Mr. Mayor, that we are responding through the Drainage Act. We're trying to come up with a solution to the problems that have been presented to us. And with regards to working with landowners, we try to work with all the landowners within the watershed. We have the information meeting so that we have ability to hear. We have this meeting where we're taking down notes and feedback as well from landowners. So,
And just to be a little more specific, if a party is not a signatory to the petition, then really they're not involved in the assessment at all.
no, that's not correct. Anybody in the watershed will be involved in paying.
Okay,
When you say word assessment, that means paying for it. So they will be potentially responsible for paying for it.
Well, that's good
once
to
we get
hear.
to that stage.
That's good to hear, and I hope everyone in the audience did hear that. That's important, and I wasn't clear on that. So, Councillor Yurick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So then, under the auspice of cause and effect, so your point is apt. I mean, your brought in situation is here now, so you're obviously looking at this. So when you're talking about regulatory agencies, I'm still looking for, under the auspice of cause and effect, that is there any due recourse for people to say that something happened that caused this, and then that impacts their potential having to pay in this petition? If I burn down a house, that happened 3 months ago, and if you come in and look at it now, yeah, but what happened 3 months ago impacted it now, so you're just looking at it now. So I just want to know really is there any recourse for something that has happened in the past, or something you're examining now from this specific to this petition?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So prior to the establishment of a municipal drain, and we have not yet established a municipal drain, the responsibilities go back to common law in terms of what your rights for drainage are, and what you can do with respect to your neighbors and getting to drainage solutions. So yeah, prior to the municipal report is a common law drainage matter.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, I think what we are coming down to here is for a preliminary report, Section 10.3 of the Drainage Act directs that Council will now provide an opportunity for anyone who signed the original petition to withdraw their name by filing a signed withdrawal form, which will be provided by our clerk. I think unless anybody has anything further, this is where we're headed in this process. We need to determine if anybody who has signed the original, and I believe there's only two, as well as the municipality, do any of them wish to withdraw from the petition? You have a question, Councillor Ennis?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just curious, since the municipality is a signer, is it an option for the municipality to withdraw its signing of the petition?
Or you probably know the answer to this better than any of us.
Through your worship, yes. We do recognize, based on the concerns of the residents, that there is work within the municipal right of way that could help assist with the drainage in this area. But to allow that to happen, we also recognize that then there needs to be a drainage path for the water to actually flow, so that the water from our road can make it to the bay. And so we do see benefit if there is concerns with drainage in this area for work to proceed. So if we did improve the drainage on our own roadway, our concern is that the problems will persist because there won't be that defined drainage outlet.
Okay, so as I say, the job before these gentlemen from Burnside Engineers this evening is to ascertain whether there is a valid petition or not a valid petition. So again, I repeat, do any of the original petitioners wish to withdraw their name from the petition? And if you do, maybe see the clerk, Ms. Wilton Siegel here, who will give you a form and show you where you need to sign. And beyond that, we also provide an opportunity for any landowner who wishes to add their name to the petition to do so on the proper forms, which again are provided by our clerk. Does anyone wish to add their name to the petition? So go ahead, Councillor Ennis.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So just following that, then, will there at any point in this process be the opportunity for any of the petitioners to remove themselves from that petition? Or is this the only time that that's a possibility in this process?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so the next time to withdraw would be at the consideration of the final report. However, if we received notification that a landowner wanted to withdraw or the municipality wanted to withdraw, we would not try to incur any additional costs and close the project. But the next formal opportunity would be at the consideration of the final report.
Go ahead, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, what sort of timeline are we looking at? I apologize if I missed it, if it was in the report. When would that next step be, timeline wise?
I think following the meeting today, we will give some time, approximately a month, see if there's any additional landowner comments and suggestions. And following that, it would be beneficial for us to hold an additional information meeting and prepare preliminary assessments for the landowners to review prior to finishing our final report. So it somewhat depends on what option we select and the design requirements of that option, as well as landowner input. So as far as timing, we could have a final report at some point this summer, but it all depends on what option we would select.
I'm gonna, is it Mr. Smith? Would you like to, if you're going to speak, please take the microphone there. And there's a spot to turn. Yep.
It's on now.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Am I correct in saying that you will make the decision as to which option is taken?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we will consider all the inputs of all of the stakeholders and attempt to determine the best solution for the watershed and meet the needs of the petitioners.
So from the input that you've had up until today, you will make the decision or which option is taken.
Go ahead and speak.
Including today, that's correct, yes.
Tori?
Okay. So
through your worship, just to add to that, a final report with that preferred solution will be identified, but it will come back to council for final approval.
Thank you for that.
So I recommend that we have a Go Fund for the signees.
Yes.
Yes.
My name's Jerry Holmes again, and I address this to Mr. Disker. We have 150 acres up there. We've been there 30 years. We've kept it in forage crops. We've never plowed it. We've never had an. If you force me through this to do that, you'll have corn, you'll have triazines, you'll have soybeans, you'll have everything under best farm practices. And believe me, you won't like it. And nobody else will down there. So your properties came off the farm that I am. We're on Nelson Artley's farm. It went right to the shore. We have a 15-foot easement down through our property, right down to Paradise Bay, right into Georgian Bay, about 50 feet from your house. If we choose to enter into that, and we can enter into it, replace it, or do whatever we want with the backhoe, we might go right through your friggin' kitchen. So you think about that for a while. We had a choice whether, don't rub that. Let me speak. Okay?
You're welcome to speak. You're not welcome to,
I'm not threatening him. I'm telling him what we're going to do. I don't bluff. And if he doesn't like it, he's had a choice to pull out of this thing. I'm just telling him what I'll do if he doesn't. And believe me, I've already talked to people who are more than willing to do this, to put 150 acres of corn there. And you ask Mr. Westbrook down there, he's a retired dairy farmer, what triazines, glyphosate, and all that. They'll give you something to think about when you pick up a glass of water to drink.
please take your seat, Councillor Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say, I just found that to be a threat, and I don't think that's appropriate for this room. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's unfortunate that he's leaving. I'm not used to having threats by my neighbors. This is very serious for us. I can tell you. We're at the end of the line, at the end of that ditch. We're taking everything down there. We're at our wit's end. We spent 2 years with shore erosion damage to the whole shoreline. Threat of our well being infected with whatever's flowing down the hill. We've accepted that, but we couldn't do it anymore. We tried to do our shore erosion to make sure that we, by putting some riprap, that we could fix that. There, like I said, there's two things. There's that Bayshore ditch basin, and there's a redirection of the water from the Juniper Enterprises property. Those two things. If we can find a way to do that, I'm very close to paying for that myself. I can tell you right now, that's at my wit's end. Fix that basin, get that water redirected north, it will fix it. If it doesn't, then let's look at this further. Everybody's being impacted by this. I'm willing to do that, but I need to see some effort from an engineering perspective that it can be done. And that's a simple basin to put in place, a simple basin, and to redirect the water where it came from. That's it. If it doesn't work, then let's look at the next step. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask you, gentlemen, do you think we have a valid petition or not?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, we believe we do have a valid petition in our determination.
Good. And any comments from council? That's the way I see this. I think it's very clear that there's been no change. There are three parties signed on to the petition. Anyone else wish to speak before we please do?
This is hard to do when you're nervous. My name's Doug McDougall. I live at the north end of Paradise Bay. Let me grab my breath. This is not easy. I'm not going to say anything weird. This is how I see this playing out. We're going to leave. The engineer's going to do the work. They're going to incur more cost. They're going to come back with a recommendation. Pick a number, $100,000, even with Dave's suggestions. We're going to be brought back in here again. An assessment's going to come up. People with the big farms are going to get the big numbers. They can't afford it. The fix will not affect me at all. It won't affect the neighbor beside me or the Hornicks. beside me. It won't affect Judy and Drew beside them. We're going to come in here again, presented with an assessment. You'll divvy it all up. Maybe I have to pay $5,000. Maybe my friends at the top, $20,000. You will have a problem. That's not a threat. There's no way I'm going to drop $5,000 on this project or $10,000 without hiring a lawyer and spend the money there first. I'm not threatening. I'm trying to get you to see reality. I respect my neighbors and their problem. They've been working on this for 20 years. I don't mean to diminish this. But if you accept the assessment and you accept the petition, you're going to go forward. You're going to have a problem with the rest of us, right? And I just needed to say that because I'll say it now or you're going to hear it 2 months from now. I won't put up with it. They won't put up with it. They won't put up with it. All right? We're not speaking here as a big voice, but you got to know we're not going to put up with it. That's all I have to say. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. See anyone else wishing to speak? Big right. Oh, okay. Mr. Wilkins, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I'd like to say to the gentleman who just spoke, well said. I would spend the same amount of money. I would spend 3 times the amount of money that I would be assessed with in fighting and drawing this out if need be. Everybody knows this can be drawn out as long as we want in terms of all incidents of court. And no one's doing themselves any favors with this petition.
And that's your total contribution then, Mr. Wilkins?
This is a statement of my position, and as the gentleman said before, we've been facing higher and higher taxes, more and more money going to municipality for less and less services. And now you're turning around wanting more for a few individuals. It's not going to go well. It's not going to go well for the council and the municipality. It'll be legal costs for people fighting every step of the way. It's a waste of taxpayers' money, but I mean, that's nothing new.
You certainly have your opinions, and thank you again. If you've nothing further. Okay.
No, carry on.
I have some other people wishing to speak, so thank you again, Mr. Wilkins. And go ahead. Just give us your name when you commence.
My name's Heidi Smith and I live at 350063 Bayshore Road. So my partner and I have an organic farm at the top of the hill. We are doing everything in our power to collect as much water as we can at the top of the hill for irrigation because we only have a dug well and that's all we're able to get on our property. We have a pond that is full in the springtime and is gone in the summer because it won't hold water. So we're collecting as much rainwater as we possibly can into totes so we can irrigate and make a living, which I can see why Jerry's upset because he's making a living as a farmer. So why we're getting penalized as part of the watershed because we're uphill planting trees, trying to make ponds, trying to collect as much water. And I don't understand how we become part of this picture, I guess, how we get lumped into the watershed when we're fighting for every drop we can. And we're certainly the youngest and the poorest in the neighborhood. So we would not be able to financially take this hit if this comes our way.
Thank you for your contribution. Thank you. So gentlemen from Burnside, again, are you saying you have a valid petition at this point in time? So that leaves it up to council, and I will tell you what our options are. Knowing that the petition is declared valid by the engineer, council can move forward by either instructing the engineer to proceed to a final report, or council may choose to set the report aside. And councillors, please note that if the report is set aside, the original petitioners may appeal that decision to the tribunal, and the outcome of that may be that the tribunal will order the engineer to prepare a final report anyway. And we know a little bit about the tribunal too, don't we? Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm glad that we have a couple of different options for us here this afternoon. With everything that I've been hearing, and even just the latest comment, I think that we need to have a situation put in place where there's further investigation on this. I think that with somebody that's saying they've got ponds up on top and another person saying they've already spent money trying to solve it and they're at their wits' end, and we've got other people that say, I didn't order this, I don't want it, now I'm going to be paying for something. I think that we need to have a time where we can investigate this. And I will say this to everybody, ever since I've been on council, you know, the husbandry of the municipality in the rural areas, it's been something that every budget comes up. We always talk about what kind of money are we going to put to doing ditching, to doing the culverts, to doing large span bridges, water, and transportation. So we never have enough money. We just don't, because it's the taxes, what we're doing. And so now what's got a situation where some private individuals are going to be asked to cough up the money on something with different levels of, you know, endeavorment. I think we need to have a pause. I think we need to have some more time and have the engineers. The option number 2 was to send it back to the engineers to have another look at this. Was that?
That's not, I don't think, an option.
What was your second option, Mr. Mayor, that we have?
We can have a pause, but only until our next council meeting, which I think is just 7 days.
Okay.
That's not a lot of time to be able to, pardon? Okay, good. So we've got 14 days.
The date of the next council meeting is April 13th.
Okay, well, that's, you know, at least some time that we can evaluate, you know, all the repercussions of this. Councillor Yuri?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To your point, Tony, and whether this is part of that or not, and I don't know whether the engineers can weigh in and whether they've looked at the option. Mr. Desker, you wrote a letter to us, and you actually stated at the microphone that potential ways to alleviate the situation now, prior to going into this official kind of more costly process, is what's been described as that feasible. So what you had said in your letter was a phased approach is reasonable, address township infrastructure, restore historic flow, upgrade culvert capacity, and install targeted stabilization and assess effectiveness before pursuing large-scale reconstruction. Sounds reasonable on the surface, no pun intended. So I just wonder, is that something that, when you're in your point, is that something we can look into before we kind of decide? Because this is only going to come back in 2 weeks and we're going to have to make the same decision over again. Is there a way we can look at that and to see if that's a reasonable solution that would circumvent this?
Go ahead, Troy.
Through your worship, the municipality can deal with the infrastructure within our right of way. There is nothing identified currently outside of this process. So it would require budget to move forward, but we could look at doing something as we do throughout the municipality within the right of way with this infrastructure outside of this process, if that is a desire of council, and then obviously see if it does have a positive impact or not, as there could be other contributing factors as to what is being seen by the residents.
So then, in fairness of process, then does that impact again, we've asked earlier in this council meeting whether or not the petitioners were willing to remove their names from the petition. Is that something that should be considered to look at this alternative to see whether or not something could be done before we go into that official process, which could be done at any time, I'm presuming? But are the petitioners, would they consider looking at trying to find another solution prior to going into this official affair? Now, having said that, so Tori, what you're explaining to me from in my head, how that process works is, and I don't know how we would have budgeted, we haven't obviously budgeted for something like this in the budget. So whether or not this would come under de facto maintenance throughout the year. But is this a credible alternative from both our engineering and from the engineers who have actually looked at this as a viable alternative? I'm just looking for clarity here.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. The option that's being presented and was discussed by Mr. Desker, the reason we're here with the Drainage Act is we need to have the ability to do improvements on other people's lands. That's what the Drainage Act gives you, that ability to do. Like your Director of Public Works mentioned, you can only do the work on the right of way right now as the road. You can't do any improvements off of the right of way unless we go through the Drainage Act. So the suggestion that was made was improving downstream, restoring lands. You can't do that unless you do it through the Drainage Act, or you go through the courts and find another way to enforce that on those lands. So that's the limitations that you're dealing with here.
Is there a third option in there with the cooperation of the landowners?
Yes, through your Mr. Mayor, you are correct. If the landowners if the landowners could work together to come to a solution and allow access to each other, or to allow access to a solution, that is an option.
Okay, because that was very importantly left out, because that
Yes.
strikes me as if there is obviously great concern within the community. And I don't know whether this is a feasible solution or not, but I would dare say that that would be an interesting conversation to have within the community as well, whether or not that can take place. And working and then in concert with the community and the municipality to see if there's a solution that doesn't require a very much larger process than. I'm just throwing that out there.
So I think what we can do is pass the motion, but postponing a decision for the period of time we have until our next council meeting.
So, and if that's the case, Margaret, I'm sure you're probably looking for some kind of a motion to bail you out. Because I would move that we do move this to the next council meeting, and hopefully we can reflect and if the community, and again, not to put, make this onerous on our staff, but a conversation needs to be had about what can be done in their backyards legally with cooperation with the municipality to try and find a solution on this. Is 2 weeks a reasonable time of period to even have that conversation to deem whether that's realistic?
Through your worship, no. I am coming into this process with predecessors having been involved previously. So have not been involved in the meetings that have taken place before this. But I would say typically this process is being completed because those things have residents have tried to complete those communications and haven't gone in the direction they were hoping for. We can obviously attempt it again, but there has been meetings about this, and this is where this has gotten to. So I guess it just depends. Like I said, we can proceed with works on our own property, so we can potentially help alleviate some of the problems, but I do know that some of the problems are not impacted by our property, and that's where we can't help. Obviously, we can try to facilitate communication, But there have been meetings in the past that have already taken place throughout this, and this is where this has come to.
Right, and my fear is that this is not the first time where there's been public meetings. And then you get to a point where now there's gonna be a financial impact, and all of a sudden, all the people that wish they had spoken up then, now all of a sudden said, well, if I'd known that then, I would have said something. So that's my only concern, now that it is hitting the fan, and people realize that there is serious ramification financially, there might be a little bit more participation or cooperation to alleviate the circumstance. If not, then we're right back here again and having to make this decision.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so maybe to help your motion, Councillor, with all respect, obviously, but I think you're asking for delay in making the decision on the motion to proceed to a final report and asking landowners to reconsider whether they want to try to work together to try to come up with a solution or not. And if they can't, then council's at a point then they're going to proceed.
Yes.
And then your original question, you said is 2 weeks enough, and obviously the director has answered that 2 weeks isn't enough, but
right.
It also, we can't sit in limbo forever either, for
right.
The petitioners do have a right here to see this thing moving forward. So
all right, well then let me do this. I respect that, and I agree 100%. I didn't think 2 weeks would realistically was going to be enough. Believe me. Is there a figure of time that you would recommend that would be more appropriate to say, let's look at this? Not to put anybody on the spot. Yeah.
Through your worship. I would say that we can make sure that we move forward with certain timelines in place. But we could move forward without a specific date and just say, once discussions have been had, it will come back to council. We can either set up that discussion or just even identify a date for discussions to happen, and then reconvene at that point so that residents can proceed with those discussions. And then we will move forward once those occur.
Okay. So I will make that motion. What I'm obviously trying to do here is I'm hoping the community, and obviously there's obviously a lot of concern. This is now an opportunity back to you to try and hopefully figure out a way to not make us make a decision that it sounds like we're not really happy about having to make. But I'm trying to be as fair as possible. I can't speak for the rest of anybody, but I'm just trying to make sure there's ample time for people to understand that. Yeah, and I appreciate the forbearance that our friends from Burnside are offering here. If you are offering it, because I think that it's really our only recourse at this moment in time, and we may yet. But I appreciate you did have a valid petition at this point in time. So do we have a motion sort of crafted, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it could probably have better wording, and I would look to anybody who would like to inject that. This is my first time dealing with this type of scenario, so I apologize for the raw wording. But I had that the motion be deferred until such time as staff, engineers from RJ Burnside, and owners in the drainage area, or I think there was a term there, have engaged in a subsequent conversation on possible alternatives. So again, I haven't had a chance, and without asking for a recess to work on that, which is also an option, but understanding the interest of time. That's my suggested starting point.
So could you just read it slowly and so that we can all hear it and so that people know exactly what they're voting on?
Absolutely. I might just pause to find out if there was any addition to that or change.
I think you're asking through you, Mr. Mayor, you're asking landowners to see if there's a mutual agreement solution, a mutually agreed solution. I think that kind of wording would help it.
Thank you. So
That the motion be deferred until such time as staff, engineers from RJ Burnside, and owners in the drainage area have engaged in a subsequent conversation on a mutual agreement solution.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Forder? Okay. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So the comment was rendered about money. My fellow councillors, you remember during budget that I moved that we find $250,000 from the roads reserve to put towards ditching work to be determined in the future, wherever that was going to be. And I suggested this would be a start where we could start spending some of that money. Because we've got the money, we set it aside in the budget. We just didn't have a project where. So I think that we're going to be okay with money to get something started after this. Thank you.
Tori?
Through your worship, just to make sure that we proceed in the correct way. We are currently identifying that for physical ditching, so removal of soil from our ditches. The work that needs to happen here won't necessarily be ditching. It could be culvert replacement or additional structure installation. And so I just want to make sure, as we are in the process of obtaining a contractor to do ditching as per the addition to this year's budget, that we want to pause some of that money and put it towards this project instead. Recognizing that it might not all be ditching, but it will impact the ditch in this area. Okay.
Thank you for that. Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, your worship. I know this is a bit off the topic, but through you to Victoria, we've got into this ditching proposal now, or possibility now. On just about all these six slides, six options, it talks about abandoning some culverts under Bayshore Road and putting in some new culverts. Can they be drilled? Do we have to tear up the road, that beautiful black road, to replace these culverts, or could they be drilled under?
Through your worship, for the cost of the culvert, it would not be worthwhile, and for the roadway to drill through, we'd be eating through that $250,000 pretty quickly. However, we will need to recognize that as we move forward with this approach, we'll have to look at it from the perspective of potentially these options not moving forward too, right? So they've identified moving those culverts because they're going to be put into new drainage systems, but if those drainage systems never exist. So we'll just need to work together to figure out exactly what those options look like, recognizing that the alternatives identified here might never come to fruition. So we need to find the best approach to recognize what's currently there and also what could be there. And there might be other pieces too that we can do. So we'll work to determine the best approach. And we would put a nice black patch over top. So hopefully there wouldn't be significant impact long term. But I do recognize it's never good to cut into obviously our roads. But if it does equal proper or assist with the drainage in this area, I think it would be worthwhile.
Okay, are we ready to vote on the motion? Go ahead.
My apologies. I may make a friendly amendment, as I've had, I can't make a friendly amendment, but a suggestion to the mover and seconders, my friendly option.
Friendly amendments are always gratefully received.
Which is just to structure it slightly differently, almost exactly the same, but I was thinking about the words, but just that the motion be deferred until such time as staff, engineers from RJ Burnside, and owners in the drainage area have engaged in a subsequent conversation to potentially identify a mutually agreeable solution. So understanding that that may not be the outcome, but with the intent to have that as the outcome. So that would be the minor edit that should it be received through Councillor Uhrig as the mover, then I can.
It was Councillor Uhrig moved it and Councillor Bell seconded. Okay.
Councillor Forder was.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Forder. And Are you ready to vote on this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm just thinking about timelines. And I figured I should ask out loud, what happens if we go into lame duck? And I'm a little bit concerned about a fresh council coming in on this issue. So I don't know, just before we make some decisions, I think it would be great to know what kind of timelines we're looking at, so we know if we're gonna kind of run into those situations.
That's probably a question for you that you haven't had an opportunity to really think about.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it does depend on the timelines for the next steps in the process. The first date that we would potentially be in lame duck, I believe, is August 21st, which is the close of nominations. So that's sort of the timeline that we would be looking at. There is a report forthcoming that offers more information on this. So some of the restrictions certainly relate to expenditures outside of the approved budget. So in terms of the timelines for the next steps, I couldn't comment on that, but that's kind of the time frame through this year that we're looking at.
Okay. So I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? Is anyone opposed? Then it is carried unanimously. And I just want to make a couple of points here. I want to thank everyone who came out and gave us your opinions. And I want to thank the gentleman from Burnside because you've gone above and beyond in exactly what I tried to explain to the one person who exited the meeting, was that we're here to help. We're here to try and solve the problem. And you've gone above and beyond to help us, give us a little more time. And I hope that those of you who are neighbors and are concerned about this, that you will give some thought to how you could work together so that we can, so there are valid arguments on both sides of this for sure. And, but if you can work together and reach a conclusion that will remediate the situation, then it's in everybody's best interest for sure. And with that, thank you. We have a confirming bylaw to deal with, and it'll only take us another minute. The recommendation is, be it resolved that bylaw 2026-29, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Meaford, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Uhrig and Councillor Ennis. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's passed unanimously. Thank you. And with that, I'll declare the meeting adjourned.